Hi and welcome to The Print. My name is Disha Ahluwalia. I'm an archaeologist and I write about archaeology and everything related to archaeology here at The Print. In 1878 and 79, Alexander Cunningham, who was a British officer and first Director General of Archaeological Survey of India, he embarked on an ambitious exploration of the then undivided Punjab. His journey took him through various unexplored sites, such as the site of Takshila, which is now in Punjab. He even embarked upon crossed Harappa at one point, and then he went and explored various mounds at along the Bagh Bacha River in Jhelum. He also came across a site called Hashachina, which is closer to Amritsar, and Topra, which is famous, which was famous for the Ashokan Pillar, which is now at Firozshah Kotla, Delhi. So his entire survey, which covered the entire region of Punjab, which includes the eastern and the western Punjab, that is the Punjab in Pakistan today, and the Indian territory of Punjab. And his last stop, in fact, was at Thanesar, which is in Haryana. So the entire undivided era of Punjab was explored in 1878. And just like most of Alexander Cunningham's survey, these surveys were also based on various literature evidence, such as the records of Chinese travelers like Hunsang and Fa Yin, and also various other texts which spoke about the historicity of Punjab and how Punjab played a significant role as a cultural crossroad and also an important trade route, basically, in ancient India, all the way moving to medieval. And even today, it is a strategically one of the buffer zones and one of the most important states, both culturally, economically, and in all aspects. But today, Punjab's history, which actually stretches back to thousands of years, interestingly, it goes back to prehistory. In fact, even the city of Chandigarh, which is known for its architectural and town planning, had a very interesting prehistoric past. There were a lot of prehistoric sites in the present city of Chandigarh, and even Harappan sites at there at Chandigarh, which were recorded by Cunningham, but then without, because no authorities took any actions and protected them or recording them, they are now no longer there. But this entire history, which spans from about right from the out of Africa migration of early hominins, the predecessors of Homo sapiens, all the way to the medieval period, that entire history is sort of remains untested. And in sense that the major chunk of work which was undertaken by Cunningham was carried forward in the years that followed the independence of India, and then after that, absolutely nothing. So, for instance, when India and Pakistan, the creation of the two nations basically took away major sites like Rivat, which is an open air, one of a kind prehistoric site, which is now in northern Pakistan. This site has yielded evidence which are about 4,500 years in antiquity, and also sites like Harappa, which in 1920s all the way till the partition were one of the major settlements of urban India. They signified first urbanization in India. So now with the partition, these sites now in the newly formed Pakistan, there was a renewed endeavor undertaken by the archaeologists of India to find many sites which are in the regions of Punjab, Haryana, of Rajasthan, and Gujarat. So a lot of discoveries were being made simultaneously. In that respects, sites like Ropar, sites like Bara, sites like Kotla Nihang Khan were excavated in 1950s. These three sites, the trio which I call, were excavated almost simultaneously. It was excavated by Archaeological Survey of India's Y.D. Sharma and his team. It was excavated from 1952 to 55, 56, and then again a season of excavation was undertaken in 1976. These three sites together, which are located in such on the banks of Satluj River, together tell us a very important aspect of the history of Punjab, which played a very important role in the rise of Harappan civilization. Now, if you look at the map, which is on your screens here, you will see that they are located in a very close proximity. You have Ropar, you have Bara, and you have Kotla Nihang Khan. All three sites are in a very close proximity. And interestingly, their chronology also are sort of matching. So now talking about Ropar, which is one of the most important settlements, was the first to be excavated. And interestingly, the previous explorations which were undertaken in 1920s. In fact, Ropar was discovered in 1925 by M.S. Watts. It was discovered around the same time when Harappa and Mohenjo-daro were being excavated. Harappa on the banks of Ravi and Mohenjo-daro in Sindh. When these sites, including other sites like Amri and others, were being investigated, Ropar was discovered, and Watts took a few trenches at Ropar, and he suggests and he recorded a lot of antiquities such as the typical Harappan pottery, Harappan artifacts like seal, and a few figurines. But it was Y.T. Sharma's excavation which actually gave Ropar the identity or the Harappan affiliation. Once the Harappan affiliation was attested to Ropar, the task was to see the chronology of the site. Now, Ropar, just like most of the sites like Sanghol in Punjab, have a very long chronology. In fact, the sites in Uttar Pradesh are also multicultural sites, and on the banks of Yamuna and Ganga are also multicultural sites. What I mean is, the lowest most strata was of Harappan affinity, which was followed by the painted grey ware, and then by early historic period, which dates about 6,600 BCE, and then comes the period of Kushana, the Saka Kushan Gupta period, which is the later historic or the middle historic period, and then comes and then there was a rich deposit of medieval period, which is about 12 to 1700 BCE. Now, this entire elaborate chronology of sites like Ropar and others really gave us archaeologists the clue about the history of the entire region, because Harappa, to put in perspective, was strictly a true Harappan site. In true Harappan site, meaning that entire deposit spoke about the rise and the fall of Harappan civilization, whereas sites like Ropar spoke beyond that. They spoke about how culture continued but changed. Harappan traditions died, but then it changed and transitioned into the succeeding culture and moved into the future. But the Harappan period particularly was quite interesting in 1952s, evidently because now the evidence of Harappan civilization were in Pakistan. So Sharma dated the Harappan strata to about 2100 BCE to 1700 BCE, which, to put in perspective, was a period of mature Harappan, or the last phase of mature Harappan, not the strict like true mature Harappan, but the later phase of mature Harappan, which is moving to the transition period, which goes into the decline, which marks the onset of the decline or deurbanization. Similarly, when simultaneous excavation were undertaken at Kotla Nihang Khan, similar relative stratigraphy was noted, and the dates were also sort of similar. And with the Bara site, which was one of the most interesting and I think misunderstood site even today, paved way for something called in archaeology the Bara culture. Now, initially, when Sharma excavated Bara, he thought the Bara was a mature Harappan or has a pre-Harappan, that is the period which is prior to the Harappan urban phase, or even the early Harappan phase, the period which transitioned from early farming to Harappan civilization period. But when he investigated and put entire perspective and material culture after excavating the other two settlements, he suggested and came to the conclusion that Bara was a settlement which came into existence after the settlement of Ropar, the Harappan settlement of Ropar was abandoned. So Bara basically came to define the late Harappan phase of late Harappan period of the region of Punjab, which is known as the Bara culture. Scholars like R.S. Pisht and others have been pushing this entire theory, and they are the ones who have worked extensively at Bara. In fact, Dr. Bisht has excavated Sanghol himself, and he's spoken and written on Bara. Now, Bara's feature were basically the pottery, which is beautifully painted pottery, and the evidence and the relative chronology suggests that the Bara is somewhere after 1800 BCE. Now, after the 1950s and 70s investigation of these three sites, Ropar was re-excavated in 2015 by, again, Archaeological Survey of India. The aim of this excavation was to basically get more samples for dating, because when the early dates were samples were analyzed in 1950, these early dates were the time where carbon 14 dating was developing, and you have to send samples abroad, and then even the half date of carbon C14 has changed over the years. So to get to take advantage of better technology, samples, it's always good to sort of date or date the samples again, or the site again. So for that, the samples were taken, and the newer excavations dated the site of Ropar to 2400, still putting it at sort of the end of the Mature Harappan or the mid of Mature Harappan, moving it to late Mature Harappan. But this reinvestigation didn't solve the purpose at all. Post that, post the 1970s, Sanghol was excavated in 1986. Now, 1986, according to scholars like Neha Gupta, are important. Are quite, it's an important, comes at a very important time, a significant time. According to Neha Gupta, who has written a paper in 2015, the Sanghol's excavation was an attempt by the authorities to sort of, to bring stability after in Punjab after the events of 1984. So the reason, according to her, Sanghol was excavated was to bring focus back to Punjab again, which was sort of missing before that, because you can see there was a gap of decades after 1950s. There was absolutely gap of a few decades in between, and then again in 1986 Sanghol was excavated. She argues that the geopolitical tension, internal politics, reflected on archaeological practices. She suggested that archaeology was studied in the shadows of political instability and social unrest, and in these narratives, in her opinion, impacted when and where ASI excavates and how it interprets its data. Now, although she may have pointed to something which we don't have evidence whether to say whether whatever she's saying is absolute truth, but it's an interesting thought. Why 1986, and why was there a gap? Because Punjab, to be very honest, is a very significant geopolitical unit which has contributed to history right from prehistory, for right from the Paleolithic period, and before that. In fact, there are a lot of fossils near Chandigarh in a few decades ago at Masol. Hundreds of fossils of extinct animals were found. So interestingly, Punjab is significant. So why was Punjab never investigated? And rightly so. After 1986, for a few years, Sanghol was excavated, and after that, complete silence. There has been no major excavation at Sanghol. A lot of explorers who are, and a lot of people, enthusiasts who are interested in Punjab's history, have often pointed out that there are many sites in Punjab, like Harshachina, which are in a very miserable state. In fact, Ropar, Sanghol, and these sites are also not in a very good state. So why is Punjab is as a very important, significant place in the geopolitical history of India, in the cultural evolution of India, was not reinvestigated? Do we need political agendas? Do we need political focus? Do we need our politicians who are sitting in Delhi to dictate what we excavate? Or should we really start looking at culture holistically, archaeology holistically, or do we need an a different approach. So as we speak, the sides are being leveled, and to be honest, we need to now go beyond just vertical dig and focus on the regional history. The only way we will be able to understand our history, our culture, and especially those who are regional to that particular area, who speak that language, who are very much in tune with the culture, will be able to find affinity to the culture only and only if we as archaeologists make effort. So with this, I would like to thank you for listening to me. You can read my column in the description by following the link in the description box below. And if you like such interesting stories on archaeology and different aspects of archaeology and issues with heritage, do follow Print, and you can find all of my previously written essays on the Print's website. And for more such interesting videos, stay tuned, like this video, and follow Print on their social media platforms. Till then, thank you so much for listening, and hope to see you all soon.